Welcome back, Commanders. My name is Alchrist, and today I'll be briefing you on your brand new T-Doll, the gorgeous maiden, Daiyan. Daiyan is a Vanguard assault rifle wielding, enemy flanking, fan bonking doll. As a Vanguard, she has incredible movement. She moves 9 tiles as a base, and can get extra movement from each of her turns. She is a ramping type doll, meaning she gets stronger as the battle goes on. She is quite formidable on open battlefields or branching pathways. I will mention that in all my guides I will be referring to Confected's index as skill points, since this is much easier to understand. I will start by explaining her unique buff, tuning. Since it's a fundamental part of the kit, she will get stacks of tuning through various means, and each stack will increase her crit rate and crit damage by 3%, capping at 10 stacks. She can also gain stacks of permanent tuning, which has the same effect but caps at 3 stacks. Otherwise, by all accounts, they're treated as normal tuning stacks. In other words, at max amount of tuning stacks, which is 7 normal and 3 permanent, she will have an extra 30% crit rate and crit damage. Tuning will also give Daiyan additional movement, allowing her to move 6 tiles after using an attack ability. Daiyan's skill point generation mechanic is tied to her passive, Swift Harmony. She will always gain 1 skill point at the start of each turn and 1 stack of tuning. She will also gain 1 skill point if she attacks a target not protected by cover. To clarify, it doesn't matter if the target is behind cover, as long as she can deal damage to an enemy that doesn't have cover bonuses. You can check if a target has cover bonus by this icon before attacking. If this is missing, they do not have a cover bonus. The second part of her passive allows Daiyan to intercept if an enemy attacks her and she has at least 2 stacks of tuning, dealing physical damage equal to 150% of her attack, reducing force stability, and gaining a stack of permanent tuning. She can perform this intercept once per turn. As of me making this guide, through my testing since her release, it's actually kinda convoluted how permanent stacks of tuning interact with this interception. I'm not sure if this is a bug or intentional design, but 2 stacks of permanent tuning does not trigger the interception, but it does trigger at 3 stacks of permanent tuning. As I said, I do not know if this was intentional, as this interaction is not described in the skills at all. But if it ever gets altered in the future, I'll pin the update in the comment section below. But to provide you examples, this is Daiyan with 2 stacks of tuning. She intercepts as she should. This is Daiyan with 1 stack of normal tuning and 1 permanent. She does not intercept. This is Daiyan with no normal tunings but 2 permanent. She does not intercept. This is Daiyan with no normal tunings but 3 permanent, and she does intercept. As I said, convoluted. To finish her passive, it increases her damage by 20% if she has at least 3 stacks of tuning. Daiyan's basic attack is plucking strings. It has a range of 6 and deals physical damage equal to 80% of her attack and reduces 1 stability. Daiyan's active skill 1 is absolute tuning, which costs 1 skill point. It has a range of 6 and deals physical damage equal to 150% of her attack and reduces 2 stability. This skill will also remove 1 buff from the target. Daiyan's active skill 2 is Xingxiang Harmony, which costs 4 skill points. She gains 1 stack of tuning as well as 1 stack of Pitch Perfect. She will also gain extra command, letting her immediately use another action. Pitch Perfect reduces stability equal to the amount of stacks of tuning Daiyan has on the next attack. Pitch Perfect works with permanent tuning as intended. Against this boss, her basic will do 1 stability plus 2 for the medium ammo weakness, so 3 at base. This is Daiyan with 4 stacks of normal tuning and no permanents, so 3 plus 4 is 7. This is Daiyan with 4 normal and 1 permanent, so 3 plus 4 plus 1 is 8, which is correct. And one more example, this is Daiyan with 5 normal and 3 permanent, so 3 base plus 5 plus 3 is 11 stability. Moving on to Daiyan's ultimate is Ethereal Resonance, which has a 6 turn cooldown. It has a range of 6 and deals physical damage equal to 190% of her attack and reduces 2 stability. The cooldown is reduced for each stack of tuning she currently has. Yes, combine both stacks, nothing funky here. After using ult, it consumes all stacks of tuning and gains 1 permanent stack of tuning. When deploying Daiyan onto the field, the key element to playing her is using her high mobility to flank enemies. Weave in and out of cover to get her skill points and then ducking back into safety. Utilize the tuning buff for maximum damage and stability damage. Without any modifications, she has 4 different methods of tuning. Her passive will give 1, her active skill will give 3, her ultimate will give 1 permanent, and her interception will give 1 permanent. Her positioning is very important for the first few turns. Because she wants to ramp as soon as possible, she wants to intercept to gain those permanent tuning stacks. You also only want to use ultimate with at least 6 stacks of tuning so that it's permanently off cooldown. With all of this in mind, when it comes to a basic rotation, is actually kinda complicated. On turn 1, use active skill 2 to generate 3 stacks of tuning. She will be on 4 with a passive stack. With extra command, use it to basic attack and reposition. Try to target an enemy that doesn't have a cover bonus for the skill point. You also want to reposition to a location to get attacked so that she can intercept and get that stack of permanent tuning. Do not use ult here, it will dramatically slow down her ramp time. Ult will go on cooldown for 2 turns and she won't be able to intercept for the permanent stacks. On turn 2, Daiyan will be on 5 stacks of normal tuning, 1 permanent and 2 skill points. You can use ultimate this turn, you will lose the stacks of normal tuning, but you will have 2 stacks of permanent. She will lose her ability to intercept this turn unless they fix how permanent tunings work. On turn 3, Daiyan should now have 1 stack of tuning, 2 permanents, and 4 skill points. She can now use a combo of using active skill 2, which gives her a total of 6 stacks of tuning, and then using ultimate with the extra action. This will eat up all of her tuning stacks, but now she'll have 3 permanent stacks and permanent interceptions. From turn 4, you've reached her max ramp. Her positioning isn't as important to intercept, but you still want to do it where you can for the damage, but you no longer generate permanent tunings. You're now focused on using ultimate whenever you have at least 3 stacks of normal tuning on top of the 3 permanents. So passively, either every 3 turns, or every second if you're able to generate the 4 skill points to perform an active skill 2 into ultimate combo. Use active skill 1 to remove any enemy debuffs, otherwise use basic or active skill 1 as filler. If you have her fixed key which starts her at max skill points, there is an option to change the order of her rotation, starting with ult and no interception on turn 1. However, the ramp time is still 4 turns, so it doesn't change her base loop. Onto her pros and cons. She has exceptional mobility, having 9 base and getting another 6, as well as another 1 from a fixed key, so a consistent 16 tiles per turn. Really good at getting to objectives. Once she is ramped up, her damage and stability damage is really high. She also has a niche that no other doll has at the moment, which is the ability to remove buffs from the enemy. And she has access to both light and medium ammo weakness. Her active skill 1 actually has the light ammo attribute, while her other attacks are medium ammo. As for her cons, even though she has high movement, her attack range is only 6, which is on the lower end of assault rifles. She requires a ramp time, requiring a few turns to ramp up her tuning stacks to be more impactful. And her ramp can be easily delayed if she doesn't get early interceptions or not being able to attack enemies with no cover bonus to get the skill points. She has no phase elements, as with most physical only dolls, she lacks a phase weakness bonus. Daiyan's best weapon is a signature, Heavy Strings. It gives crit damage and the generic rifle trait, granting a random buff if Daiyan is at full HP at the start of turn. Its effect glissando does have all conditional effects though. It has a 20% chance of removing a buff from the target before attacking. It also increases damage by 5% for every 3 tiles moved, capping at 10% if she has moved at least 6 tiles. And it gives 10% extra crit damage, but only to enemies that do not have any cover bonus. Her next best weapon is Planeter, and is the more consistent choice. It also increases crit damage and has the same trait as the other assault rifles, granting a random buff at full HP. Its effects Path Patrol increases damage dealt by skills by 4% and can stack up to 5 times. She will get a stack after each kill or after getting an extra action. Once she has reached 5 stacks, she will also gain a buff which lets her move another 2 tiles after an attack. She can also use Golden Melody. It has attack boost and the same random buff trait as the other assault rifles. Charging increases damage dealt by 10% when she gets a buff, which is guaranteed with a passive's automatic tuning per turn. The second half of the effect won't help Daiyan as her intercepts do not count as support attacks. You can use her namesake, Type 95, same random buff rifle trait, and Amplify increases damage dealt if she has any movement points at the start of her attack. If you don't have any of these, you can use the Model Alpha. It has the same trait as the other assault rifles, granting a random buff, and durability will increase damage dealt when she uses her active skill 2. Her attachments are of the DPS archetype, focusing first on attack percent, attack, crit rate, and then crit damage. A reminder that the only attachment that can get crit damage is the muzzle. When it comes to which attachment sets to farm, the set that you're looking for is Physical Boost. As with other physical only DPSs, this is the only set she benefits from. You can use the generic DPS set Phase Strike. It increases damage by 15% as long as they have an elemental debuff of some kind, but only use this set if you can field a doll that can inflict a debuff, because Daiyan can't do it herself. When it comes to her fixed keys, the best ones to obtain are 201, Echoing Melody. This gives Daiyan 1 extra movement when she has tuning, so basically all the time, making her base movement 10. 203, Unfulfilled Dreams, starts Daiyan at max skill points. As I mentioned previously, This does not change her base rotation much, but it will give leeway to use her active skill 1 instead of a basic more often. N403, Serene Serenade, she gets 1 stack of tuning when attacking an enemy with less movement than Daiyan, so basically everything. These 3 fixed keys are her core keys. Her other 3 are fine and can be switched in if you feel like you don't need the extra skill points or tuning stacks, but they are not at all necessary. 401, Haze Walker's Melody, gives Daiyan 10% more crit for each additional movement before the attack. 603, Lasting Legacy, will help Daiyan self-sustain in the backline. If she kills an enemy after using active skill 2, she recovers 20% HP and 2 stability. 601, Squad Broken, for every 3 stacks of tuning, she removes an additional buff with her active skill 1. Her common key is Shattering Stone and Silk. It gives crit, and she gets movement up 1 every second turn. Other common keys she can steal is Tololo's Afterglow, increasing damage dealt while skill points is below max. Otherwise, any common key that increases attack or crit would work. Next, we'll have a quick look at her fortifications. At V1, when her active skill 1 hits the target and it doesn't have any removable buffs, she gains a stack of tuning instead. At V2, she increases the stacks of tuning gained from 3 to 6, a strong upgrade. At V3, increases the max cap of permanent tuning from 3 to 6. This is Daiyan's breakpoint if you want to commit to her dupes. At V4, when she has more than 5 tuning stacks, the damage goes from 20% to 40%, and her intercepts are buffed to deal 180% of her attack and reducing 6 stability. At V5, once she caps the 6 permanent stacks of tuning, she ignores 15% of cover when attacking exposed enemies. And at V6, she gets a stack of tuning permanently whenever she kills a unit. To finish off, we'll have a quick look at suitable teammates to field along Daiyan. For DPS, QJ is probably her best pairing. Daiyan's interceptions can trigger QJ's action support. Macchiato pairs well, they can both intercept the same target. And once Daiyan gets going, she pairs well with Mosin, as Daiyan has really strong stability damage. Pick whatever sustain suits your team comp best, but Xiaomi is always a good pick. You could also use Sabrina or Litara. Both of them are good at destroying cover and makes it easier for Daiyan to generate skill points. Outside of that, Daiyan fits well as a flex in any teams that you need extra mobility. Here are some examples of team compositions. A great setup is Daiyan, Macchiato and QJ. Daiyan and Maki will intercept, and QJ will finish them off before they even get a chance to attack. And that about wraps up this character briefing for Daiyan. I hope this guide helps, and if you have any other suggestions on a build or teammates, please leave a comment below. Until next time, Commanders.